Increasing the number of women in the workforce and the number of female leaders is on the government's agenda, but is enough being done? Today, I'm talking to Shui Wang, Senior Associate at Allen & Overy, Maiko Itami, Marketing Manager at Education First, and Maxine Cheney, Staff Writer for BCCJ Acumen, published by Custom Media. We'll be looking at the issues surrounding women in the workforce and how things can change. What are some of the core issues, do you think, that women face in the workplace in Japan?
Only things we're lacking of is something a little bit of confidence of how you express it, how you grasp the chances there and opportunities there. So it's just barrier, lowering the barrier of how you get there is the mental shift, is that's what we need.
But in addition, I think particularly in Japan, there is the additional challenge of overcoming existing social norms and views on the role of men and women in society and in the workforce, but also just having a critical mass of women leaders already in organizations that champion other women to take on more challenging roles and set a positive example for younger women and the next generation.
Why aren't they taking this control?
Actually, I think it's not just women that need to champion the younger generation to bring about the change. It's the men that are currently running the show that really need to be the drivers for this change.
Is it the role of the women to do this?
Well, I think a lot of it goes right back to education. So starting at university levels or high school levels perhaps, and encouraging women to pursue careers. And once they get to university level, saying to them, this is not just about having a degree.
It's not something like a female should do or male should do or the kids should do. It's more of if you have some goals and how you get there, it's just a matter of how you find the way. It's not something that female is a role at this sections or father role is this and that. It's more about you to create what's the cause there and how you get there.
So we're looking at changing the attitude of men in Japan? Is that the root of all this?
Changes in cultural norms and cultural behavior is always going to be slow and it's going to take time. It doesn't, a whole society of men isn't going to suddenly change their mind about how society should work.
But this woman in agenda is a kind of set and form made by men.
Yes.
So sometimes I feel uneasy or uncomfortable that this is something that women should shine, and for shining of the society, you do this and do that. But that's again given by men.
Is the government doing enough?
Friends and colleagues and all the companies that we really talk to, many female wants to go back to the work, but there's no place that, especially around Tokyo metropolitan area, there's no enough place to grow the kids together.
So ultimately it's also an economic problem where the government needs to put funding into these things, and they need to approach these businesses that maybe aren't taking on these changes to leave policies and changes to flexible working. I know they're trying to push for teleworking, which I know a lot of women would appreciate, being able to still work from home, maybe even a few weeks after they've had their child, and have that freedom to be flexible and to have both their career and to raise their child.
We're all involved in foreign companies or foreign links of some kind. How easy is it for Japanese women to find jobs, to find interesting jobs? Where do they look for jobs? Where do they network? I think this is probably one of the bigger challenges beyond, as well as the home care and the childcare.
Like Japanese traditional companies and also going to more of international enterprises, I think passes very two separated ways. And how you get there, it's maybe coming from, again, of what kind of education that you had or environment that you grow up with. If you have some chance of going to study abroad or learning other languages or knowing other people than Japanese, then you have more open-minded of saying, okay, what's something happening over there in Germany or happening in Korea or happening in China that you wanted to learn more about it. Then your eyes are definitely open and you want to get more opportunities.
So I think networking is a problem for Japanese women. Where are they going to network? How are they going to learn about the opportunities for them to get on in their careers.
But I think in that respect, the big Japanese corporations could also be doing a lot more, because when they recruit out of university in their graduate recruitment, what you often hear is that women naturally, and I don't know whether they just gravitate towards it or they're sort of directed towards it, but they often take on more administrative roles rather than the business roles that allow them to really grow in their career, such that, you know, they don't have to face the same glass ceilings that men do in those organizations. So without allowing them on the path to start with to actually take on more challenging roles, there's also no way for women to then progress to leadership positions in those organizations.
Realistically, if they look at certain situations in the right way, they can look at it without any barriers. And they can ignore those barriers. They can find ways around the barriers. They can work with men to find a situation where both parties agree on how things should work. And a big part of that, like you said, is publicity, and I think the media has a massive role to play in this. There's an increasing amount of coverage on women's problems and diversity and those kind of things, but I think more needs to be done through media to give that kind of image that all these companies should be taking part in all these policies. They should be paying attention to including more women in the workforce. Especially in Japan, you've got an aging demographic. That's something that can be tackled through including more women in the workforce.
How have your companies facilitated your rise in the company?
My company has actually been extremely helpful in promoting female leaders and women in more senior positions, try and stay on and take on the challenge of trying to make it to partnership. So it's also having the flexibility to be able to manage your day as you see fit without it affecting your performance. People recognizing, having partners and mentors that recognize that you can do a perfectly good job and meet all of your clients' demands and contribute to the team without necessarily having to be in the office.
What really strikes me is the core value that we have. Nothing is impossible. So like you make the way to strive being, if you want to work in, I don't know, Switzerland, or if somebody wants to work in Japan, you will find a way to do it. Or if you have more of the people that's working on this project, make it happen. And if you lack of the person, then you always find a way to do it. It's always this mentality of nothing is impossible. Mindset is really something that really drives and like fuel to make move on.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we can all contribute in our own way, and I'm sure we can keep pursuing the leadership, women's leadership in Japan. Thank you very much for watching Business in Japan TV.